Have you ever noticed that you feel a little uncertain going out in the world and like maybe feeling a little nervous about that? Maybe your heart begins to race a little bit. Maybe it's something you've always had. Maybe it's something that's just started happening with COVID. So today I think we'll talk about social anxiety a little bit in connection with the pandemic. Hey beautiful souls, welcome back. I am Wendy. This is my space, Holistic and Well, a place that we nurture and cultivate better health through herbalism, intentional wellness, and self-healing. I hope that everyone has been doing well. Still a lot of madness in the world. I don't know about other locations, but Kansas City is pretty much opened up fully. And I think people are still trying to get back in the swing of things. I know that I've had several clients that have said they have a lot of anxiety about going out into the world and what that looks like now that we've got the pandemic, the COVID-19, Rona, and she is still out there and still being passed around because of that's just the nature of a virus, is it gets passed around. So let's talk about social anxiety in relationship to the pandemic. So again, if you notice yourself feeling a particular way when it's time to get out in the world, maybe sweaty palms, racing heart, feeling uncertain, feeling worried, and really procrastinating in getting out in the world, you might have just a scotch of social anxiety. And there might be some folks that they already have social anxiety, so on top of what's going on in the world, there's just another layer to kind of peel back. I wanted to talk about 7 ways that you can kind of combat that social anxiety a little bit. Alright, so let's talk about kind of some of the additional symptoms that you might want to start looking for when you are trying to figure out what's going on with you. Do I have some social anxiety? And what can I do to kind of work on that? So one of the things to really look at is, do you have an intense worry or an intense fear about your physical well-being? Is that something that you focus on a lot? That can be your first indication that you've got a little bit of social anxiety regarding going back out in the world and within the pandemic that we're currently in. As you are getting ready to go in the world, do you experience like shortness of breath, those sweaty palms, a racing heart? Maybe your stomach is a little upset. Maybe you feel a little nauseous or dizzy. Maybe you're feeling a little bit of isolation to go along with that. Those are all some real indicators that you might be struggling with some social anxiety. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do to kind of combat that a little bit. The very first one, and this is something that I talk to all of my clients about regardless of what kind of anxiety they've got, is to really sit down and identify, what are the things that I have control over versus the things I don't have control over. Because then you can put your focus on what you can control versus not putting so much focus on what you can't control. And that is a really important thing to do, frequently, because our mental health morphs and changes and evolves. So we have to continue to remember, okay, these are the things that I can control, and post it. Make a video to yourself, put a sticky note somewhere. The important thing is to remember, I can control wearing a mask. I can control being able to wash my hands. I can control being able to limit how much I go outside. What I can't control is other people. What I can't control is what other people do. And that's the important thing to remember, is to be able to isolate what I can control versus what I can't control. It is a huge, huge help. Tip 2 is to really minimize the amount of media coverage that you are taking in. I know with myself, I was watching the news every day to stay up to date on the numbers and where we are and blah, 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 blah. But what I did find is that in doing that, it was increasing my fear. It was increasing my fear to be out in the world. It was increasing my fear of, am I going to get sick? And I already struggle with anxiety, so the last thing I need to do is put a cherry on top of the sundae and have an extra layer of anxiety. So minimize the amount of social media or news that you're taking in. Facebook is running rampant with it. So is the news. Just don't fixate on listening to that every day or several times a day, because guess what? It does not change anything. Stay informed, watch a couple times a week, be aware, but that's about all that you can really do and to keep yourself in a healthy place. All right, tip 3 is to maintain a routine. If you are one of these people that have been able to stay home and work throughout the pandemic, or maybe you're still able to work at home, I know a lot of companies have given the option for people to continue to work remotely. And that's awesome if you're someone that thrives in that type of an environment. There are a lot of people that have anxiety because they're not around people and they want to get back into social situations. Either way, the important thing is to maintain a routine. It really helps your brain to know what to expect and what to look for, what's coming up next. You know what all anxiety is the fear of the unknown. That is the bottom line of what anxiety is. So don't give that fear, don't allow that fear to kind of fester. Create a routine and stick to it, whether you're working from home or if you've gone back into the office or to the world. Tip 4 is going to be make sure you're maintaining healthy lifestyle choices. Make sure you're getting that sleep in. Make sure you're not overutilizing alcohol to calm you down. Make sure you're getting some exercise or some meditation in. The things that helped you be healthy and well before the pandemic are the things you can continue to rely on and to utilize when we're in the midst of it and as we are kind of phasing out of it. Honestly, from everything that I've heard, this is going to kind of be sticking around for a while. So we've got to think about, do I want to put my life on hold? Do I want to live in a place of fear? Or do I want to thrive through the pandemic? Do I want to thrive through this period, this era of our history, that I can come out on the other side of it still being very, healthy and well? So just maintain those healthy lifestyle choices. Hey, those Rona snacks ain't no joke, and I think a lot of us have gained a few pounds, so including me. But that's one of those healthy lifestyle choices. Minimize the snacking or make it healthy snacking. So tip 5 is to develop or maintain a practice of mindfulness. Now, I know that meditation is something that feels super scary or overwhelming or not doable for a lot of people. But a mindfulness practice does not have to be the traditional. A mindfulness practice can be as simple as walking outside and looking at the grass and how it's waving in the wind, looking at the trees and see how they're swaying, looking at the clouds and looking at the formation. I know it sounds kind of like woo 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 woo, but the reality is what happens is when you are mindful and you get out of your brain, you give your brain a break, and your brain said, please give me a break. So mindfulness is super important. Being able to pay attention, maybe when your coffee is brewing, you inhale really deep and you smell the coffee. If you are taking a shower and you utilize body wash, smell what that smells like. That's the practice of being mindfulness. It does not have to be sit down with incense, close your eyes for 3 hours and meditate. It does not have to be that. Just keep it simple. Use the KISS acronym. Keep it simple, sweetie. I know there's some other variations of that, but we're going to stick with that one. All right, tip 6 is going to be that attitude of gratitude. Have you been maintaining a gratitude practice throughout this situation? Even when we go beyond the pandemic, you should still be creating and maintaining an attitude of gratitude. We've talked about it before. We're able to take word maybe that's negative and reframe it into a positive. And that takes a skill. It's like being able to build up your endurance to run 6 miles, or maybe building up your endurance for a marathon, building up your endurance to be able to reach over and touch your toes without bending your knees. You have to slowly build into that and push yourself and build that endurance. So are you doing that? Waking up in the morning? Are you going to bed and having gratitude? Are you having gratitude throughout the day? Remember, make it fun and include your kids. If you're back at work, Include your coworkers. Make it a challenge to where everyone is involved and they have this gratitude, this air of gratitude, because your body reacts differently to that attitude of gratitude rather than being in this place of fear and worry all the time. I will put some more information about gratitude in the description box, so if that's something you kind of slacked off on, you can get back into it and you've got a resource to get you going. All right, the very last tip is going to be intentional breathing. And I know you're like, Wendy, what is intentional breathing? We have to breathe intentionally to live, right? Absolutely. That's a reflex, actually. So we're not putting intention into it. So intentional breathing is really about making sure that you are not in a place of anxiety or that fight or flight mode that stress promotes. Remember, we kind of talked about the primitive part of the brain, the amygdala. And so what happens is if you are encountering a situation or a person or a place, what happens is that your brain interprets that, the amygdala interprets that as whether it's safe or whether we need to figure some shit out. Do we need to run? Do we need to fight? What do we need to do? So when you have that moment of stress, your brain interprets it and says, hey, we're cool, we're good, you don't need to worry about it. Or your brain says, hey, figure it out. And usually when we figure it out, we have shallow breathing that's our chest goes up and down rather quickly, our heart rate increases, and there's a lot of physiological things that happen. And basically your body's rerouting all the resources to your limbs so that you can either fight or you can flee. So intentional breathing is about being able to notice that and de-escalate and bring that back down so that your body can now get back to that place of normalcy, or being able to be at that baseline for you, being able to be at that place of I'm not worried, I'm stress-free, and I'm feeling safe. So there are a lot of variations. The important thing is to remember with this particular breathing exercise is to breathe in deep, allow your stomach to expand, and being able to take that in fully. And let me tell you why. There is a nerve called the vagus nerve. VAGUS. I'm going to put some information in the description box for you. The vagus nerve comes from the brain, and it twines around the spinal cord through some of your organs and is wrapped around, and it is a part of your parasympathetic system. That is the system that helps you to be able to go to a place of reduced stress. So the parasympathetic system is the system that helps you be able to be in that relaxed place. And so what happens is when you breathe in super deep, you press on that vagus nerve and it activates, and it sends a signal to the parasympathetic system that says, hey, chill out. It's okay. Take a breath. Get you a glass of water. We're safe. It's okay to chill out. So let me show you what that looks like. It's super simple and nobody even knows you're doing it. That's the beauty of intentional breathing, is it's super helpful, but nobody knows you're doing it. You're stealth. So here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to take a deep breath in and we're going to count. And the reason that it's important to count is because we're coming out of our brain and we're able to focus on something different. So we're going to take a deep breath in. You're going to fill up your diaphragm and your lungs, count to 5 slowly. And then you're going to hold it for 5 seconds slowly. And then you're going to release and count to 5. And then you're going to hold that for 5 seconds as well. Think of a square. So you're going to go up one side, across the top, down the other side, and across the bottom. So here we go. If you want to focus on something or close your eyes, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get the same result. So here we go. That was it. That's intentional breathing. Now when you do that, what happens is you slow your breathing down to only have so many breaths per minute versus that real shallow, fast breathing where your chest is going up and down really fast. And that's a great way to be able to tell is put your hand on your chest and pay attention to the rhythm of your breathing. If it's super fast and shallow, you know you need to do something to de-escalate your stress level and get it back down. Super simple. I'll put information again in that description box so you have a little bit more knowledge about what the vagus nerve does. So those are the tips and tricks to be able to combat some social anxiety or just anxiety in general. You know, if you are sitting in your car and you're getting ready to go into the grocery store, do some intentional breathing so that you can bring yourself back down to a healthy place, and you're able to recall that list that you created of things I can control and things I can't control. That's another good way to alleviate that in that split moment second. If you have to, write down what works for you and carry it with you. Put it on a list on your phone so that you've got it available. Empower yourself with tools that you can use on a daily basis, on a minute-by-minute basis, because nobody wants to live in a place of survival. We want to be able to thrive. So that's it for today. I have a wellness audit on my website you can grab that you can kind of give yourself a quick exam. I also have an anxiety audit. You can do both of those. And you know what? If you find that you have checked and answered yes to a lot of those questions, we need to make some changes so that chronic illness does not set in. Remember when we were talking about racial trauma last week and how over a period of time that takes effect? It's the same exact thing with anxiety. If you don't learn how to control it, it can really morph into those chronic illnesses later. Your girl knows because I'm there. Alright, so hit that subscribe button, share this video with loved ones, save it, make sure you subscribe. Leave some comments below on what you do to help with your anxiety and get yourself back to a place of thriving rather than surviving. I appreciate you guys being here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are here hanging out with me, and I want you to know how much I do appreciate you being here. So until next time, next week, you be holistic and well. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.